I caught my boyfriend masturbating to gore, and I don't know what to do. I never thought I would find myself in such a shocking situation. I'm a 26-year-old woman, and I've been in a loving relationship with my boyfriend, who is 28, for over 5 years. He has always been the kindest person I know, gentle, caring, and patient. He wouldn't even harm a spider. Instead, he would catch it in a cup and release it outside. That's the kind of person I thought I knew. But everything changed one fateful night. It was late, and I walked into our office, expecting to find him gaming or watching something harmless. Instead, I stumbled upon something that would haunt me. He was engrossed in graphic videos depicting real-life violence. I stood there, frozen, as I realized he was not just watching these disturbing images. He was engaging in a deeply unsettling act. My heart sank. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me, and I quickly turned and fled to the bathroom, where I cried until I thought I might be sick. The images replayed in my mind like a horror film I couldn't escape. This was a man I thought I knew, and now I felt like I was staring at a stranger. I couldn't comprehend how someone so gentle could be drawn to something so grotesque. My mind spiraled into dark thoughts. What if this was just the beginning? What if there was something seriously wrong with him? I felt trapped in a nightmare, unable to look him in the eye without feeling a mix of dread and disgust. I was overwhelmed with emotions, feeling completely alone in this turmoil. I couldn't share this with my friends or family. It felt too heavy, too grotesque to voice. I feared their judgment and the way they might look at me afterward. Part of me wanted to pack my bags and leave everything behind. But I was in shock. I couldn't just throw away 5 years of our lives together. As the days passed, I noticed he sensed something was wrong. I felt unsafe confronting him about what I had witnessed, so I decided to leave him a note and stay at my brother's place for the night. I hoped he wouldn't do anything drastic while I was gone, but the fear lingered. It felt dramatic, but I was exhausted from the emotional turmoil. When I returned to our home to gather a few belongings, I was met with a chilling sight. Some of my things were missing or damaged. My clothes had been tossed out, and a few sentimental items, which he knew held great value for me, were broken. I didn't know if this was a fit of rage or a twisted attempt to punish me for leaving, but it terrified me. I had never seen him act this way before. I grabbed what I could and left immediately, shaken to my core. He began bombarding my phone with messages, and I seriously considered blocking him for my own peace of mind. I needed time to think, to process everything that had happened. I felt grateful for the support I received from those who understood my situation, but I was still trying to wrap my head around it all. As I reflect on this experience, I realize that I have to prioritize my safety and mental well-being. The person I thought I knew has revealed a side that I never imagined existed. I'm still grappling with the decision of what to do next, but I know I need to take the time to figure it all out. I never thought I would find myself in such a bewildering situation. But here I am, grappling with the unsettling discovery of my boyfriend's secret. It all started one fateful evening when I walked into our shared space and stumbled upon something that would change everything. My boyfriend, whom I had always considered loving and supportive, was engaged in an act that left me both shocked and confused. He was watching something deeply disturbing, content that revolved around violence and gore. At first, I was taken aback. How could someone I cared for deeply be drawn to such dark themes? I had encouraged him to explore his desires, thinking it was just a part of his personality. But now, I was left questioning everything I thought I knew about him. As I reflected on our relationship, I recalled moments that now seemed like red flags. He had a tendency to be a bit rough during intimate moments, sometimes holding me down in a way that made me feel trapped. At the time, I brushed it off as him being adventurous, but now I wondered if I had overlooked something more serious. I had even asked him once to communicate better about our boundaries, but his reaction had left me feeling guilty for bringing it up. In the days that followed my discovery, I found myself spiraling into a mix of fear and confusion. I worried about his past and what could have led him to this point. Was there something traumatic that had happened to him that he hadn't shared? I felt a deep concern for him, but I also recognized that I needed to prioritize my own safety and well-being. I had become increasingly isolated since moving across the country with him. Most of my social connections were through him, and I had lost touch with my few friends. The thought of reaching out to anyone for help felt daunting. I didn't want to burden anyone with my problems, and I feared that if I left, I would have nowhere to go. He owned everything: our home, our car, even my phone and laptop. I felt trapped in a relationship that had started to feel more like a cage. As I sought advice from others, I began to realize that I wasn't alone in my feelings. Many people reached out to offer support, and their kindness helped me see my situation more clearly. I started to understand that while my boyfriend had never physically harmed me, the emotional manipulation and control I experienced were serious issues. I needed to take steps to protect myself. Just a few days later, I made the decision to leave. I found temporary refuge with my brother, hoping that distance would give me the clarity I needed. But my ex-boyfriend wasn't ready to let go. He showed up unannounced one night, and my heart raced with fear. I confronted him about what I had seen, and to my surprise, he broke down in tears. He admitted that he didn't mean for me to discover his secret and expressed feelings of shame and confusion about his desires. In that moment, I realized that while he was struggling with his own demons, I had to prioritize my own safety and mental health. I couldn't be the one to save him. I needed to focus on healing and rebuilding my life. As I continue on this journey, I want to express my gratitude to everyone who reached out with support. Your words of encouragement have been invaluable, and I am committed to finding my own path to safety and happiness. I know it won't be easy, but I am determined to reclaim my life and build a future free from fear. I never expected to find myself in such a harrowing situation. It all started one evening when I stumbled upon something that shattered my world. My boyfriend, the man I loved and envisioned a future with, was engaging in a disturbing act that left me feeling horrified and confused. I caught him in a moment that revealed a side of him I had never seen before, one that made me question everything about our relationship. In the aftermath of that shocking discovery, I felt an overwhelming sense of guilt. I was scared, and I didn't know how to process what I had seen. My boyfriend's reaction was alarming. He went from tears to anger in a matter of moments. I found myself backed into a corner, both literally and figuratively, as he slammed his hand against the wall next to my head, creating a terrifying atmosphere. It was as if the man I loved had vanished, replaced by someone I barely recognized. He made threats that sent chills down my spine, insinuating that if I didn't return home, he might harm himself or even our beloved cats. The thought of anything happening to them was unbearable. I felt trapped, responsible for his well-being, and yet terrified for my own safety. Thankfully, my brother intervened, and I reached out for help. The police were informed, and I started to seek the support I desperately needed. But even with that support, the pain of leaving my cats behind was excruciating. They were technically his, as he had bought them, which left me feeling powerless. I couldn't shake the worry that something might happen to them while I was away. Each moment felt like an eternity, and I was in a state of shock, hoping that this was just a nightmare I would wake up from. As the days passed, my boyfriend began sending me messages that were increasingly distressing. He sent pictures showing that he had harmed himself, and his voicemails were filled with tears and pleas for me to come home. I knew deep down that he was trying to manipulate me, but I couldn't help but feel like a terrible person for not responding to his cries. I was torn between love and fear, and it was a battle that left me feeling utterly defeated. I reached out to friends and family for advice, and many urged me to take precautions for my safety. They suggested getting a restraining order and even recommended that I stay with my brother or a friend to avoid being found. I felt grateful for their support, but the thought of returning to my old life was daunting. I knew I had to act quickly to ensure the safety of my cats. I contacted local animal shelters and rescue organizations to report the situation, hoping they could intervene and help me retrieve them. It was a small glimmer of hope in an otherwise dark time. I realized that I needed to prioritize my safety and well-being above all else. While I was grieving the relationship I thought I had, I also recognized that I had discovered the truth about my boyfriend before it was too late. It was a blessing in disguise. even if it didn't feel that way at the moment. I was determined to find a way to move forward, to reclaim my life, and to ensure that my cats were safe and sound. As I navigated this tumultuous period, I learned that it was okay to feel a mix of emotions. I was heartbroken, scared, and confused, but I was also resilient. I knew I had to keep pushing forward, for myself and for my furry companions. This experience would change me, but I was ready to take the steps necessary to heal and find a brighter path ahead. I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that.